The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever FAB, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Shirley. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Fab, a segment of the Forever FAB podcast where I review products, services, experiences, and frankly, whatever, in 15 minutes or less. If the full-length podcast is a couture dress, for example, then 15 Minutes of Fab is like a button-down French cuff white shirt paired with leather leggings. If you don't have time to tune into the full-length podcast, then check out 15 Minutes of Fab, just a small dose. Some have considered it truth and beauty or plastic surgery secrets or as a nerdy or academic take on wellness and beauty with a dash of fashion. Consider it what you may. My aim is to engage you as a credible and authoritative voice in most, if not all aspects of beauty and wellness with a dash of fashion. That includes products, wellness services, technologies, innovations, new scientific research, and plastic surgery. As the founder of Holistic Plastic Surgery, my approach to beauty is through a lens of wellness that's grounded in science, backed by medical study and research, strengthened by my clinical experience, and bolstered by my surgical training with the use of principles and techniques of plastic surgery. And then there's my love of fashion. Of course, I feel uniquely qualified to talk with you about beauty, wellness, aesthetics, and plastic surgery, as well as products and services within those spaces, not only because of my extensive, and may I add, expensive training and expansive background, but also because I'm one of you. Many of the human issues around aging and being a fierce fab person, as well as an agent for positive change, I live these too, and I try. You're not alone. So together we can help the world become a more beautiful, forever fab place. So if you'll have me and give me at least 15 minutes of your time, let's get at it. In this new year, I've decided that it will be one of expansion and discovery. So I'll explore all sorts of topics, near and possibly far-fetched, while still focusing on the topics that make the Forever Fab podcast, well, fabulous, namely fashion, the art of living well or wellness, and beauty. As part of my philosophy of holistic plastic surgery, which I created well over probably now 15 years ago, where I believe that beauty emanates from within, wellness plays an integral role in my practice. And this goes for many aspects of life that help you to live in grace and beauty, including nutrition, exercise, products, services, technologies, mind, body, spirit, and science. In episode 1, I discussed that while sugar may taste good, it's not so sweet when it comes to your health and beauty. In part 2, today's episode, I'll discuss how you may further reduce or even eliminate the habit. So the title of today's episode is The Bittersweet Case of Sugar Part 2, Cutting the Habit. Let's review. Sugar is found naturally in all foods that contain carbohydrates, such as fruits and vegetables, grains, and even dairy. So eating whole foods, natural whole foods that contain this type of natural sugar is okay. According to Harvard Health, because your body digests these types of foods slowly, the sugar in them offers a steady supply of energy to your cells. And that's a good thing. The problem, however, is when you consume too much added sugar, the processed stuff, the additives and sugar that food manufacturers add to their products as an ingredient to either increase flavor or as a preservative to extend the product's shelf life. This probably applies to most processed foods, and that's not a good thing. On top of that, added sugars probably also included or added to foods or products that you may not even think of as sweet, like soups, bread, cured meats, rice, supermarket sushi, as I learned personally, and even ketchup. An article by Harvard Health that's titled, "Too Much Added Sugar Can Be One of the Greatest Threats to Cardiovascular Disease." Dr. Frank Hu, professor of nutrition at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, stated, quote, "Basically, the higher the intake of added sugar, the higher the risk for heart disease," end quote. Sugar doesn't just affect your inner health, it also affects your outer well-being too. What are the effects of sugar on aging, for example? In a natural process called glycation, the sugar in your bloodstream attaches to proteins, and that attachment of the sugar creates things called free radicals. And those free radicals in particular are called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. Makes sense, right? AGEs. These AGEs essentially work to damage and slowly take apart and dismantle the effective functioning of those proteins that they attach to. The more sugar you eat, the more the damage on your proteins. And there are a lot of things in the bodies that are made of proteins. Sugar damages collagen and elastin. It increases the unstable type of collagen in your body, and it disrupts the function of naturally occurring antioxidants. And those antioxidants are responsible for reducing inflammation and the oxidative stress on cells. And that is one of the primary processes of premature cellular aging. Okay, how do you curb the habit and curb your sweet saber tooth, I called it? In the first episode, I asked that you first identify where your sources of sugar are. Identify the foods that you're eating that may contain high amounts of processed sugar. Are your sources obvious? Cakes, cookies, ice cream. Oh, that's a bad one for me. Starbucks chai latte. Oh, that's another bad one for me. Or are the sources of your sugar hidden, as in preservatives, supermarket sushi, etc., ketchup, mayonnaise, whatever? Secondly, ask yourself, is sugar filling a void in my life where an experience, situation, or person is not so sweet or not sweet at all? Perhaps talk therapy may be useful in that case. Thirdly, ask yourself, are you stressed or depressed? Again, perhaps talk therapy as well as some stress management techniques may be beneficial. Next, start subtracting the added sugar. Read food labels, and that way you can determine the best ways to monitor your intake of added sugar. So when you're reading the food labels, identify the following and avoid them: brown sugar, corn sweetener, corn syrup, fruit juice concentrates, high fructose corn syrup, honey, invert sugar, malt sugar, molasses, and syrup sugars on molecules ending in OSE, such as dextrose, fructose, glucose, lactose, maltose, sucrose. Then try to either avoid or cut back on the amount and or frequency of those foods where the sugars are found. Okay, sounds like a plan, right? Well, what if you have been trying all those techniques for several weeks, and though you've met with some success, you still need a bit more help? First and foremost, I strongly recommend that you discuss what I'm about to say with a nutritionist and a medical doctor. Or if you don't have a nutritionist, talk to your doctor. You may need an evaluation that requires a lab workup, right? Why are you craving all the sugar in the first place? This may uncover an underlying condition such as prediabetes, gastrointestinal dysbiosis, SIBO, small intestinal bowel obstruction, or other situation that may be affecting your glucose metabolism or insulin production and or function. And this is important stuff because it could affect you not only now, but for the rest of your life. I'm going to talk to you about a few over-the-counter herbal options for helping to manage those sugar cravings. But I know that there are other prescription options out there. All I'm going to say about those prescription options, the Ozempics, the Wegovys, the Rybelsus, all those other prescription medications, all I'm going to say is that those are for people with diabetes. And I know they're being used off-label for other things. Okay, no judgment. But if you are going to use it, please limit the amount of time that you're going to use it. If you're using it off-label, meaning not for diabetes control, and allow the supply to be, given to the people who truly need it. Okay, so I suggest that you discuss the following over-the-counter herbal possible options for helping to manage your sugar cravings. And again, these are options for people with normal blood sugar, meaning in absence of a glucose or insulin dysfunction. And it occurred to me that it would probably be helpful to talk about some of these things because I've studied herbalism and plant medicine. And frankly, as in most of my studies, my learning is ongoing. I'm still learning herbalism and plant medicine. There's so much to learn out there about plants and the human body and all that stuff. And nevertheless, I've discovered that there are a few plant-based supplements that may help to curb that sweet saber tooth. Firstly, a couple of basic concepts, which I am super oversimplifying, but they're important. And just so that we have some context, what is glucose? Glucose is a measure of blood sugar, right? It's the primary sugar found in your body. It's affected by the food that you eat, and it's the main source of energy for your cells. Like without glucose, without energy, you're not feeling so great. What is insulin? Insulin is a hormone that is produced in the human pancreas. Insulin is the hormone that regulates your blood sugar. So insulin regulates glucose. Insufficient production of insulin, if you're not making enough of it in your own body, or decreased sensitivity to that insulin when you do make it enough in your body, or a lack of responsiveness to the insulin when you are making enough, your pancreas is working fine, but the cells that are supposed to receive the message from that insulin, when those cells just aren't responding adequately, all of those are considered mechanisms of diabetes. Okay? So those are the two basic concepts, glucose, insulin. And there's a lot of other stuff all around sugar metabolism that clearly is not within the scope of this podcast for me to discuss with you. Okay, back to the herbal supplements. So some of the over-the-counter herbal supplements that may help to regulate blood sugar include, drum roll please, fenugreek. Oh, and by the way, I got most of this list from fullscript.com, and there I added a couple of other ones from Farm Easy, right? It's a blog, I think, out of India, actually. Okay, so fenugreek seeds, they're high in soluble fiber, and this fiber helps to lower blood sugar levels by slowing down digestion and slowing down the absorption of those carbohydrates, right? And carbohydrates contribute to increased blood sugar. Seeds, if you are already eating a diet high in soluble fiber. So there you go, soluble fiber from vegetables and other naturally occurring whole food sources. There's always an alternative. The second herbal supplement, Gymnema, Gymnema. I say Gymnema. It could be Hymnema, but whatever. Gymnema contains substances that decrease the absorption of sugar from your intestines. And this supplement may also increase the amount of insulin in the body. So caution, okay, you take it to decrease the absorption of sugar from your intestines back into your bloodstream, but guess what? It could also increase the amount of insulin in the body. And why disrupt your natural flow, right? Why disrupt your natural state of affairs or homeostasis? So that's something to be careful about. A study from China found that supplementation with a water extract of this other herbal supplement, cinnamon, this study found that supplementation for 2 months reduced your insulin, fasting insulin, glucose, and total cholesterol and LDL levels. Wow, bonus. Another over-the-counter herbal supplement, ginseng. Ginseng extract, that's been used for centuries for a number of things. But recently it's been studied for its ability to control blood sugar. Okay, studies are still out there. Another supplement, turmeric. I actually love turmeric. I use it in my cooking all the time. Turmeric may decrease fasting blood sugar levels specifically through its active component, curcumin. Now, curcumin has been written up in lots of in the literature and lots of papers for helping to benefit a number of functions. But I quote this peer-reviewed paper. Quote, a review paper examining studies published from 1998 to 2013 found that curcumin helps with lowering blood sugar levels by a number of mechanisms, including improving beta cell function of the pancreas, reducing inflammation, reducing insulin resistance, reducing the amount of glucose or sugar produced by the liver, stimulating cells in the body to take in more glucose, and stimulating the pancreas to secrete more insulin. End quote. That's pretty comprehensive. I mean, turmeric sounds like it's it. I add it to almost everything. Maybe that's why when I cook some of my food, no matter what I'm cooking, it's the same. But whatever the case may be, I add turmeric to almost everything. Okay, green tea, another herbal supplement. Green tea contains a natural antioxidant called catechin, and that's been shown to decrease fasting blood sugar and hemoglobin A1C levels, and to reduce fasting insulin levels. Not bad. The other source of some of these supplements, that Pharmacy blog mentions rosemary. Rosemary promotes weight loss and also balances blood sugar levels. Rosemary is also responsible for reducing what people call bad cholesterol or LDL and increasing what people call good cholesterol or HDL. Pharmacy also mentions sage. Sage, and not only for, burning it and clearing your environment of negative energy, but sage reduces blood sugar levels, more so when consumed on an empty stomach. Also, adding sage to your diet increases the secretion of insulin. Another supplement, oregano. Oregano increases the activity in the pancreas to make more insulin and also reduces blood sugar levels by inhibiting cravings for sweets. That sounds like it's a bonus. And oregano is easy, right? You can just add it to the food that you are cooking. So that's not so bad. Or add it on top of the food that you've already cooked, so you don't take away all the effects of your spices by boiling them or cooking them to death. Okay. Last over-the-counter supplement I'll talk about in this episode is ginger. Ginger increases insulin sensitivity, right? So that the cells can respond to the insulin so that the cells can do what they can do naturally to help manage and control and regulate your blood sugar levels in your bloodstream. Ginger also helps in increasing insulin secretion. So it's kind of like, partnering there, increasing insulin sensitivity, but also increasing insulin secretion. So it just like is a double whammy for increasing the effectiveness of insulin. Now, I've given you a couple of handfuls of these over-the-counter supplements, and it may sound as easy as going to your local supplement store and just start popping pills, but that's not the case. Now, do you know what your blood sugar levels are throughout the day? Maybe you don't need any of this stuff. Maybe if you are craving sugar, your body's telling you something, and rather than eating the processed sugar, modify it and figure out what your body needs. Maybe your body is saying, hey, I'm feeling a little lethargic here. I need energy for my cells, and energy equals sugar, but I'm not asking for a Twinkie. I'm not asking for, Starbucks chai latte. I'm asking for a piece of fruit, right? Or I'm asking for a naturally occurring carbohydrate, some vegetable. So think about that also. Not all cravings are bad. You just have to learn how to interpret your craving. And that's not necessarily easy, but the more you tune into your body, then the better you'll be able to decipher yourself and figure yourself out. For me, that's a lifelong journey. So it's important to remember that plants can serve as medicine. This is true. But, as with all medicines, you have to be really careful and mindful of the risks, the benefits, the potential side effects, and the drug interactions of these plants, right? So the same way that plants can serve as food, like Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine, but those medicines can have side effects and drug interactions. So not all plants are totally harmless. As a matter of fact, I remember receiving a bouquet of flowers or a floral arrangement, and I saw one of the most beautiful flowers that I had seen. And because I had been studying herbal medicine and plant medicine, I recognized what the flowers were. And there are a species of flower called foxglove. And as it turns out, foxglove is deadly toxic, not just make you sick toxic, no, like lethal, deadly toxic. If you've ever heard of digitalis or digoxin, right, helps to regulate your heartbeat and heart rate, that's made from foxglove. So if you accidentally touch it on your fingers, guess what? That naturally occurring digitalis is absorbing into your skin and affecting your heart. God forbid if your pet happens to, munch at one of the petals or the flower, that's it. It's a wrap for that pet. It's so lethally toxic that even the water that the flower had been sitting in, don't get that into your eyes or on your, I just don't. It's a beautiful looking flower, but it is lethally dangerous. So, just goes to show you that plants can have serious effects for good and for not good. One person, so regarding these supplements that I just mentioned to you, it's so important to figure out what's going on in your body, number one, and that may involve testing, medical evaluation, discussion with your physician, right? It's not just as easy as going to the supplement store and saying, oh, Dr. Shirley said fenugreek helps to control my cravings. I'm not saying that you talk like that, but, just to put on a different voice. No, you really have to think about these responsibly because, after all, one person's candy control may be another person's poison. So proceed with caution and discuss with your nutritionist and or your physician. Probably your physician would have to perform or order some tests for you. So there you have it. This concludes this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab. And as always, stay beautiful and forever fabulous inside and out. As always, if you love this episode of the Forever FAB podcast, please share it and subscribe to the feed. Listen to past episodes or check out who's coming up next on foreverfabpodcast.com. If you enjoy listening to the Forever Fab podcast and you want more, get more audio and visuals with a membership through Patreon. Choose the gold, platinum, or diamond tier for premium added content, special co-hosts, lifestyle videos, branded merchandise, and maybe even private access to my clubhouse by visiting patreon.com/foreverfab. If you're a founder or you represent a beauty brand and you want to be featured on an episode of the Forever Fab podcast segment of 15 Minutes of Fab, send me some stuff. Visit foreverfabpodcast.com and fill out the contact form. For general holistic beauty tips or to set up an appointment with me to discuss your personalized options for leveling up your beauty, visit elementsandgraces.com and sign up for my newsletter or just give us a call. And for an online e-consultation on time, anytime, and on your time, visit clicklift.com for your wellness, plastic surgery, beauty, and wellness questions on the go. That's click-lift.com. It's time for the Elevated House Call. Jet Set Beauty RX offers beauty on-call services near your home or other domicile, delivering beauty in the privacy of a medically equipped mobile aesthetics unit. Reserve your appointment at jetsetbeautyrx.com. Thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab podcast episode. Until next time, stay beautiful and fabulous inside and out.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.